Hello and welcome to Granada Reports. First, with the news across the northwest.
On the programme this evening, one of Fred Talbot's victims says the former teacher was an expert at making young boys trust him.
He absolutely abused his position. He was very good at finding boys that wouldn't tell and that he could abuse.
And we'll also talk to a former colleague who says he feels betrayed by Fred Talbot. Also on tonight's programme.
More cuts mean more crime. The warning from our region's biggest police force as it stands to lose between 300 and 400 more officers.
One of the Northwest's most famous nightclubs is closed by police in Liverpool over suspicions of widespread drug dealing. Our cameras were there.
This operation follows an investigation that's been taking place over the past few months.
And we'll find out why Brendan Rodgers was at the Vatican ahead of the FA Cup fifth round weekend. First, though, the TV weatherman Fred Talbot is facing a jail sentence tonight after being found guilty of indecently assaulting two underage boys.
Talbot, who's 65, was a teacher at Altrincham Grammar School for Boys in the 1970s when he used his position to abuse trust and his pupils.
A jury at Minchell Street Crown Court in Manchester cleared him of charges against three boys, but guilty of assaults on two others. Our correspondent Rob Smith is outside Altrincham Grammar School now. Rob?
The friendly face he presented to millions of viewers was a lie, and there were two former pupils at this grammar school who knew that because he'd abused them as children. Fred Talbot was a teacher before he was a weatherman, and he was desperate to prevent the truth about what he'd done in that former career from being revealed. He spent the past 4 weeks trying to convince jurors that what his victims were saying about him were actually acts of imagination. But in the end, they saw through his act instead.
I think it will stay dry throughout the afternoon. Very pleasant indeed.
The forecast was pleasant. The leaping weatherman's past was anything but.
Best of the weather to start with in the north, but by
TV wasn't Fred Talbot's first career. He'd been a teacher, abusing pupils on school trips.
It was pretty unpleasant to see him on TV. It was pretty sickening to see him on TV and being famous.
One victim, now in his 50s, endured a simulated orgy and sex act for the then teacher's warped pleasure. He was abused on a school boating trip organised by Talbot. His identity's protected by law.
He absolutely abused his position, and in those days people had a lot more respect for teachers. You didn't question what they said. He was very good at finding boys that wouldn't tell and that he could abuse, and it was to be kept secret. It was going to be our secret. We weren't to tell anyone.
What type of ages were the boys who went on these trips?
no comment.
Were they all from the same year?
No comment.
Police interrogated Talbot in 2013 over indecent assaults, his victims schoolboys. His teaching methods at an all-boys school in Altrincham in the 70s were more grooming than education. The 20-something befriended youngsters, insisting they called him Fred, not Sir. Biology classes saw intimate chats about sex acts before setting them as homework. He then offered pupils drink outside the gates.
He was very popular. He was young, he was part of the new wave of teachers. He was very good at being liked, but I knew what the real man was like.
The real man was revealed in Talbot's diaries seized by police. An entry from 1969 read, "What's more interesting than a copulating 15-year-old?"
As a teacher, he had responsibility to nurture and safeguard those under his care. A responsibility he has proven to have no regard for and abused in an appalling way. The very traits that endeared him to the nation, his energy, enthusiasm and personality, had earlier helped him gain the trust of his pupils and ultimately his victims.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
The abuser became a TV presenter while still teaching. He feared his crimes would derail his newfound stardom. A diary entry described his big chance and how he was going to ruin it all. The situation, he wrote, is getting out of hand.
When did you get into television?
No comment.
How did that happen?
No comment.
Talbot wouldn't tell police the real reason he changed careers. He'd lied about it for decades. In 1984, he invited an astronomy class to his home for a stargazing sleepover. He made an indecent proposal to two youngsters. They told their parents he was forced to resign.
How cold did your blood run when you heard about all of this?
That's exactly the phrase. I was beyond astonished, and I genuinely was in denial.
TV producer Simon Mailia worked alongside Talbot for years. He feels deceived by a false persona.
Considering everything over all the years, how good an actor was Fred Talbot?
He must have been exceptional. He must have been truly exceptional, because he had us all fooled for a very, very long time. I feel as though I never knew the guy. I can't fathom how he's managed to keep this aspect of himself under wraps for so long. I just can't see it at all.
I can actually see some blue sky.
Police say there's no evidence Fred Talbot abused anyone after leaving the teaching profession in '84. Yet the face he presented to viewers was an act, hiding his real self, a predator who targeted teenage boys.
And Rob, what have Altrincham Grammar School had to say about Fred Talbot's case?
Well, they released a statement today. They say these awful events took place over 30 years ago. Naturally, our thoughts go out to the former pupils, they say, who were subjected to this abuse. We're confident, they point out, our present pupils and their parents know the school is totally committed to ensuring the safety of our students, and that these historical offences have no bearing on the school's outstanding reputation today.
So, Rob, what next for Fred Talbot? When is he back in court to be sentenced?
Well, tonight he is spending his first night in prison, the first of many to come. He will find out exactly how many when he goes back to court on March 13th to have his full sentence revealed to him. And we can reveal to you tonight that police in Scotland are now looking into similar allegations.
Rob Smith in Altrincham, thank you very much. Greater Manchester Police says it will be forced to lose half its budget